Hello everyone, this is Sorenekful here, and today we are playing The World Ends With You Final Remix in the Nintendo Switch. And from our last video, we finished Beat's Day 7 Secret Reports. So we have completed from Day 1 Shiki to Day 7 Beat. All the secret reports are now complete. So now, we are going to do is the story time with Mr. Hanekoma. Because we're going to read all of the secret reports from Shiki Day 1 and Joshua and Beat's secret reports. And I'm gonna dub as Mr. Hanekoma while reading, because Mr. Hanekoma is the author, as per se here in Day 4. The secret reports author, which is Mr. Hanekoma. When you enter Wildcat and you would figure out, you'll get the samurai wig, and you'll figure out that Mr. Hanekoma, Mr. H, is the author of all of the secret reports. So now, let us try to read Day 1. Here we go. Secret Report 1. As is common knowledge, all games in the UG take place under our supervision. However, this particular game is saddled with a nigh unbelievable set of excruciating circumstances, catching the attention of the higher plane. Thus, I shall be taking a more hands-on role this time, as detailed in this report. The core differences in this game are as follows. Number 1. Its role in plans for Shibuya's destruction. Number 2. The composer's absence from the UG. Number 3. The resulting limitation to his powers. And number 4. The game being played by a proxy. The composer has informed me of two major points: that he plans to destroy the UG, but also that his final decision will hinge on the outcome of his game with the conductor, as provisional rule for this game requires the composer to vacate the underground. It is unprecedented for the composer to be absent during a game. I cannot predict what effect it may have. Furthermore, the composer must lower the frequency of his vibe to travel from the UG to the RG, inevitably curtailing his abilities. This makes investigating the conductor and his strategy incredibly difficult, as the composer is still the only one who knows who and what I am. It means lingering into the UG to author reports carries a lethal risk. The great randomizer in the current game is the use of the handpicked proxy to compete against the conductor in the composer's stead. No information on this person exists at present. While the situation seems dire, I believe the key to getting ahead of all of this is at hand. You see, time always builds upon the past. I have already located our key. It is a pin request from the conductor. Normally, the psych manifestations of pins are determined by one's imagination. Thus, by analyzing the pin, the user's imagination, or rather the true intentions, are revealed. Unfortunately, this order came through the composer and never came in contact with the conductor. Thus, I could not use it to determine the nature of his imagination. I too have lowered my vibe to tune into the UG, limiting my abilities. However, at this stage, realizing that this pin holds the key insufficient, the possibility of forestalling the plans for the UG's destruction remains. Alright, that's Secret Report Day 1. Let's continue. As the game was set to end, I felt an intense burst of soul, and it is source. I found the composer's handpicked proxy, one Neku Sakuraba. Let it be noted that once danger was past, the soul has expelled rapidly tapered off. I shall define soul and as exists in the UG later. For now, let it suffice to say it is the energy he bears within him. His unstable soul is the result of a rift between his body and emotional mind. This discord can be traced to a few causes. His dense and number 1, his dense and all-inclusive soul composition. Number 2, emotional confusion inhibiting the unity of his emotional self and physical body. And number 3, the excavation of the confusion by memory loss due to his entry fee. However, anyone possessing such diverse soul can become a formidable wielder of imagination. The composer was right to choose this boy. Shibuya's fate may rest on how well he manages to stabilize his soul. To measure his stability, I gave him a harmonizer pin. It can only be used when he cooperates with his partner. Synchronizing with another hinges on his ability to first stabilize his own soul. The successful use of the pin would indicate he has made progress on that front. The further he is able to push his and his partner's pin psyche's renaissance through fusion, the greater his own internal stability will have become. The progress of his soul merits close observation henceforth. And that's day 2. Let's continue. This is going to be a separate video for Shiki, Joshua, and Beat. So I'm reading right now Shiki Secret Reports. Let's continue. Day 3. Secret Report Day 3. Secret Report 3. Allow me to redefine the composer's role. As I continue to observe the game's progress, I have a clear view of the enormous effect of the composer's absence, as a clear definition of his abilities. His duties are key to understanding the extent of his disruption. The composer holds absolute authority over the underground. By authority, I mean the right to determine rules. He is the only one who can change the composition of the Yuji and sole creator of this Shibuya. The underground Shibuya is created and organized by the composer's rules, which pit players against Reapers in struggle for survival. A new composer only arises when the previous one is defeated. The victor takes the victim's place. At this juncture, the new composer rewrites the rules of the Yuji Shibuya. However, there being no composer at all is a different situation. It means the rules that make up the Yuji are invalid. In other words, without a composer, the Yuji collapses. However, the composer's absence is still a secret. At present, only 3 people know: the composer himself, his opponent, and the conductor and the producer, me. Whoa. The producer's role is the guardian over the game. For observation purposes, he must sometimes descend from the higher plane to the underground, but the producer is natively an entity from the higher plane. He can adjust the frequency of his vibe to visit the Yuji and lower planes. Think of a radio. Going from station A to station Yuji simply requires tuning into the different frequency. The producer has the power to contact any and all beings in the underground. However, he is strictly prohibited from revealing his identity in the UG. His existence endangers the stability of rules and balance of the UG and RG. Thus, the producer's identity must stay a secret from Reapers and players, not to mention those in the RG. He may freely contact only one person as a producer, and that is the composer. And that's day 3. Let's continue. Day 4 now. And wow, surprisingly, so Mr. Hanekoma is the producer. Wow! Secret Report 4. The UG exists as a separate plane where the composer can judge the worth of men. Within it are Reapers and human players. It is infeasible for the composer to judge all of humanity by himself. So a filtering system utilizes the Reapers was created. The Reapers game. Reapers act as a test, weeding out unfit players. Upon becoming a Reaper, one's physical body changes, gaining incredible strength as an extended lifespan. As Reaper and player alike progress through the game, engaging in imagination-driven combat, their soul is refined. Soul is abstract matter revealed through our research into life and death, and a component in the makeup of the atmosphere. Humans will thought of all phenomena. As Reapers execute the game, they undergo a process of evolution from grunts to officers to the composer. However, Reapers that follow the ideal route are rare, and most are erased by players. Reapers or player, those erased within the game disperse the mind. Disperse the mind and spirited house within their flesh in the form of soul. Thus, they are erased only from visible existence. Their soul persists in the UG until gathered and tied together according to a new code. This new code is essential. Imagination, given sufficient imagination, any form is possible, be it a pin or a Reaper. Variations in this code cause the soul to manifest in different forms. In other words, humans, reapers, and noise are all entities formed of soul. The only difference is their code. And what are noise? Entities without conscious will. Only the drive to multiply. Thus they constantly thirst for soul, attacking players and possessing humans in the real ground. Whoa. Soul consumed by noise is destroyed even if the noise is erased. Thus possessed humans often exhibit a rush of euphoria immediately after the noise is removed. Though untested, the same would likely hold were a player or reaper possessed. And that's day 4. Wow! Next, day 5. Secret Report 5. The real ground and underground are planes of existence. Other planes exist as well, the one inhabited solely by noise, for example, or our customary plane. The planes are stacked in parallel, though each exists at a different frequency vibe in tune with the inhabitants. Observing the lower plane from the higher plane is simple. Actual transplanar contact, while possibly in highly complex. The vibes of The vibes of adjacent planes are closer, making passage between them comparatively easier. More distant planes show greater difference in vibe frequencies, and thus communion become more difficult. The UG exists just above the RG, allowing those in the UG to observe the RG but not vice versa. Noise exists on a special plane that straddles both the RG and UG, enabling their interference in the affair of both. When players come into contact with noise, they are drawn into the noise plane. In other words, players are forcibly tuned into the noise plane. Conversely, there exists an even higher plane than the RG and UG. That is where I am from, the plane of the angels. As is the RG and UG, angels have created a web of social schema to guide their activities. The role of producer is just one cog in the angel machine. Oh! Angel vibes are extremely high frequency. Not even the composer can catch that up. In actuality, he can pick up only that of the producer. As you see, interplanar contact is beset by difficulty, but certain modes do exist for its realization. One is the modulator deco. Within its area of effect, players from the UG can manifest visibly in the RG and communicate with others there. Reapers and composers can down-tune their vibe at will. Near these decals, however, even their vibes will be forcibly adjusted to the lower frequency. Another mode, imprinting, requires no physical manifestation in the RG. Imprintees experience the conferred thoughts as bursts of inspiration. The reliability of these communiques thus depend upon the persons receiving it. For example, successful communication with preoccupied people is unlikely. Furthermore, recipients' interpretation of said inspiration colors the message, making imprinting unreliable at best. Reaper Creeper was created as a mode of popular communication between the planes. Modulating paralogos printed on paper allow the limited UG interaction with real ground objects. As those in the RG are unaware of players, they perceive the illusion of a coin moving by itself. Oh, that's why it's Reaper Creeper. That's how it works. Alright, let's keep going. Day 6. Secret Report 6. Here we go. I received periodic communication from the composer. While we maintain contact, I am prohibited from providing him with information for risk of unbalancing the game. I am permitted only to respond to his commission for certain items, and even then am able only to create and deliver said items. The composer has requested increased phone functionality for use in the next game. Today's the proxy partner, 1. Shiki Misaki, freed herself from her divine value envy. With this, the composer is convinced of the proxy's victor of the 7th day. His confidence arises because the proxy's intervention was indispensable in causing his partner's growth. It signals the proxy's departure from his obsessive self-actualization loop. Previously, even the composer was unsure of his proxy's capacity for growth. Normally, the composer possesses a certain degree of clairvoyant foresight. His current down-tuned state, however, limits his abilities, clouding this supertemporal vision. Though able to observe the UG from the real ground, he is otherwise saddled with limitations. For one, his outward appearance, he looks younger than he would at full vibe frequency within the UG. Fortunately, this prevents the Reapers from recognizing him as the composer. To begin with, the composer contacts Reapers only through the conductor, so most are unaware of what he looks like. Additionally, as the being in the underground with the highest vibe, some lesser Reapers are incapable of perceiving him. The effects of down-tuning occur because the composer's vibe and the RG frequency are substantially different. For Reapers, the down-tuning necessary to exist in the RG is significantly less and thus affects less prominent changes. That said, it depends on the Reaper. At any rate, the effect is minimal, making Reapers much more frequent visitors to the real ground. Provided they complete their duties, Reapers may do as they wish in the RG within certain accepted boundaries. Whoa. Wow, we're finding a lot of things from Mr. Hanekoma. Wow. Let's continue. Day 7. Secret Report 7. As the composer predicted, the proxy has won the game. So what happens to those who survive the week? Those whose imagination is less than outstanding are broken down into soul, while those with excellent imagination become Reapers. The most talented of these may travel to the next plane inhabited by us angels. Diligent Reapers too may pass through the officer of composer to ascend to the plane of angels. Now, a what if? This may sound odd, but one may also choose to be reincarnated. While the word reincarnation is not quite accurate, for the humans of the UG are not truly dead. They merely possess different soul code and have been turned into a different plane. We angels do not consider it a loss if a talented player elects to return to the real ground, as their superior imagination will inspire other humans. Upon returning to life, the exceptional player's creative activities soon make their mark upon society. His art, music, and other output become a part of culture, spreading and persisting through time, refining people's imagination even without personal contact with the player. Certainly, this requires time, but no one has ever accused angels of being in a hurry. The composer's absence during this particular game, however, means that reincarnation is not an option. Only the composer possesses the level of imagination necessary to reincarnate. It is beyond the conductor's means. The conductor continues to act as if the composer were present, but this farce can only continue for so long. I will be watching with a great curiosity to see how the conductor responds once his ruse unravels. As I was busy writing reports, the boy is my custody. Beat went missing. Beat had expressed curiosity in how noise was created. Perhaps he plans to ask a Reaper, but even without a specific instruction from them, he has the ability now. I gave him a pin filled with the special imagination required to create noise and imprinted him with instructions for its use. This does not qualify as interference in the game. The information I gave him will have no impact on the game's result. It was merely a token of my esteem for his unflinching passion towards what he holds dear. Whether he uses his power and how is completely up to him. Whether he uses his power and how is completely up to him. And that's the end. Wow, so yeah, let's say the summary. So Mr. Hanekoma explains he knows everything about Neku, being the proxy chosen by the composer, and he is the producer, that's his role. He watches over the game, and he's like an angel guarding everything if the game is going smoothly. Wow, that makes total sense now. No wonder Mr. H knows everything about it. Wow, that's incredible. Alright, that's it for today's video on Shiki Secret Reports Storytime with Mr. Hanekoma. So, on the next video, we're gonna go now and start with Joshua's Secret Reports this time. Anyway, stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Bye.